So in the last video, we got the engine set into Tony's 2020 Chevy Silverado 2500hd. The engine setting it in went pretty good. In this video, we're going to be setting the cab back on and getting everything ready to go. This is one video of I think it's a 4-part series, 3 or 4-part series that is on the membership site, and I'm putting it over onto YouTube. So I'm just scheduling them up to come out one after another. So check in the link in the description. If you like this video, look in the description. By clicking the title, the description will fall down and you'll have the links to the rest of the series as they come out. So it may not be in there today, but I'm probably going to schedule them up to come out one a week or 2 a week, something like that. But anyway, I hope you enjoy, and keep in mind this was from last October 2024 and it is now July 2025. Well, made a little progress today, not as much as we wanted to because I had a different video that I had to record, and we had to wait on the fan hub to get here and just different stuff. But we didn't even start on it till like 2 o'clock, and it is 8 o'clock now, and we started at 1 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock now, but I've had to be in and out, and it's just been, I'm wore out. Anyhow, there's the motor in the truck. The cab bolts are in. We haven't tightened them down. We've got one in the very back cab mounts, and these right here behind the tire. And there are some plugs down here that I don't know. I know they were there when we took them off, but I can't find them. So we're gonna come back in tomorrow, and it should be running tomorrow night. Granted, we feel better, or I feel better. I've been dragging ass all day today. Anyway, we're gonna go home, get cleaned up, and like I say, hopefully we'll have him running tomorrow. But the cab being back on the truck, it's progress. New fan hub, radiator washed out. It was freaking filthy. When you're going back together with something like this, a lot of it is cleanup. When you're taking it apart, anybody can take it apart. Putting it back together should aggravate the part. Cleaning everything up, making sure everything, doing as much maintenance as you can while you're in here, and trying to make sure you don't get it all back together and say, damn, I wished I'd have done that while I had the cab off, you know, stuff like that. But anyhow, we'll see you in the morning. Well, it's starting to look a little bit more like a truck today. We did go ahead and got 4 of the cab bolts started last night just to line it up, and up there trying to work is just all cramped up, so we're going to push it back and get it back here in the floor where we can actually get to everything. But he's working on the radiator getting the AC condenser and the transmission cooler and all that stuff sitting back, and old motor sitting in there. Everything looks good. Just start piecing it back together. There's 3 plugs down here that I got mixed up. It's on me because I wasn't paying attention. I thought I took pictures of it, but 3, I don't even see them now. They're right in behind here. Those 3 plugs right there, I nearly know I unplugged 3 plugs, but there's only 1 wire back there now. And then the steering is pretty much in. Just wiggle it a little bit, and then the bolt holes will line up. Remount the ABS motor, and just start hooking all this stuff back up. It shouldn't be too bad. But I'm feeling pretty rough today, so I'm hoping we get a lot done.
hot. The reason I want it right here is we'll take and pull the lift around, put it underneath the tow hooks and pick it back up, stretch the suspension out, that way I can get my big head back in the fender. Right about there?
Yep.
Well, that'll give us enough room to get started. Well, he got all the cab bolts back in, and we still got to hook his fuel pump and his coax back up and his camera back there. And radiator's in. This radiator hose ain't on, and that thing looked crusty on the inside as it was on the outside. Anyhow, he's working on bolting the AC compressor up. If you're doing this, I think I mentioned already, these bolts, you got to leave them in the compressor. Take these two out first, then jump over there, and you can go ahead and take that front one loose, and that back one, it won't come past the line. So you just turn it out a little bit and raise the compressor up, turn it out a little bit, raise the compressor up, and eventually it will go all the way down in there. Then you got to hold the compressor completely straight and set it back down in there so it don't cross thread. But he's finna get that knocked out, and I'm finna put the battery tray with the ECM on it back in. That'll clean up a lot of this. There it is right there on the floor. But yeah, making progress. Probably don't look like it. The coolant reservoir's in. All of the coolant lines are hooked up, like I say, except for that top one on the radiator. And most all the plugs are plugged up, but we're still going around. I'll do some, he'll double check. I'll do some, he'll double check me, and he does some, I go double check him, just make sure we ain't missing nothing. Anyhow, I think we're gonna hit it run tonight. Been taking turns going under there trying to figure out where a couple of wires go that we can't find. And then battery box in, ECM's all hooked up. I mean, it ain't but just a little bit away from firing off. Got oil lamp, we got to pour coolant in it. I got to put the fuse box back in. And there's your fuse box. These things will only go to their designated spot, so you can't hardly put them in wrong. But that back has got a groove it's got to slide into. I'm not able to hit that groove with one hand, I guess. There it is. Get it on. Push down, there's 4 tabs that'll click. Then you got your screws right here. Just 10mm, or I think they're 7mm. And start turning them in, and that'll drop the plug up onto the bottom of the fuse box. Probably wouldn't have been a bad idea to do that before it clicked in, but I'm gonna grab me a ratchet and do that now. If you notice, there's stuff on in the truck. We just now put the batteries in, topping off the coolant, checking the oil. The batteries are hooked up. I do have a little bit of buttoning up to do under the fender here. This plug right here, I don't know where the heck it goes. So I'm assuming when we turn the ignition on, the computer is going to tell us. So, and then the we're leaking a little bit of brake fluid. I just realized, because there's a sensor that needs to be put back in, so that's good. There's all the ECM, where my ECM's down the engine bay. The ECM on the 2020s is in the fender liner. Anyway, there's all that. But he finna hit the ignition, see what kind of codes pop off. We're gonna put coolant in the reservoirs, and hopefully here in a few minutes we'll get to hear this thing fire up. I know I'm excited. Not as excited as he is, but I'm excited. I'm gonna put 2 gallons of coolant in it, and I spilt some of that. Main thing, just fire it up, make sure it ain't knocking, and listen for leaks, or watch for leaks. Is that gonna be enough? Sure. What your oil pressure? What your oil pressure? 62 pounds of oil pressure. That don't sound bad at all. We still gotta put the front end back on. I know she's kind of ugly now, but don't say nothing. She's self-conscious right now. Sounds pretty good if I do say so myself. I bet he's excited as hell. Oil pressure is pressuring, exhaust is exhausting, fuel's fueling. Let's see if we got any leaks leaking. How many check engine lights on? All of them?
All of them.
Yeah. Them plugs down there. I never did figure out what they went to, but we'll figure it out. I ain't laying down on this floor. And I didn't pick the front end up. We just stretched the suspension out and back it out so we can clean up some of our mess. But we have sure enough made a mess in this man's shop. Then we'll top the coolant off, cut it off, check the oil. And we still got some buttoning up to do. We got a few little things, we got bugs we got to work out of it. But, oh. Right, we didn't put no power steering fluid in. Right, these are on out. So it ain't done yet, but it is pulling under its own power. Them power inverter wires right there, and CB coax, the other junk we got to button up. Inner fender liner still in the back of it and all that stuff. But as far as how's it running, it sounds great. But we're gonna finish topping off the coolant and top off the power steering fluid and all that, and then we'll come back and let you know how it's doing. Probably wash all that crap too. Lock the top. So the power steering was low, so we added some power steering fluid. The brake fluid was low, so we added some brake fluid, but we had to bleed the steering. And if y'all have ever done that, if you haven't ever bled your steering, just start adding fluid, turn it all the way to the right, then turn it all the way back to the left, just work it back and forth, work all the air bubbles out. That's all it is to it. And if you can't do that, jack the front end up and get the weight off the wheels in the front. That'll make it a whole lot easier to bleed out. But if you got one that's stuck that you can't turn all the way, I've had to do that on 18-wheelers before. But other than that, it sounds really good. But my junk's over there running. But we're gonna pull it back in, check for leaks and all that. He's probably gonna drive it to my house tonight. He's crashing at my house until we get done with it. And then we'll bring it back tomorrow and button everything up with the grill back in it now. So this right here, this sensor goes into the master cylinder. This is the only sensor that we broke. Taking it out, and I'm thinking it's a brake fluid level sensor because he's got brake fluid brake lights on the dash. Anyway, when we were raising the cab, I didn't see it. It was still hooked up, and we broke that sensor. The plug's still in good shape though. So now I'm gonna put this sensor back into the master cylinder. It just slides in all the way across and got these two catches right here. And slide it into it, clicks. No O-ring, no nothing. We're not losing brake fluid or any of that stuff. So don't really understand how it works. I did see how it comes out and goes back in. Got to squeeze the pointers together and then push it in. There it is. Now the wire should be right here that goes to it. Changing that one little sensor that I broke, turned all the lights off on the dash. He's still got a service parking brake light on, but that's because he's been needing parking brakes for a while. So he said after we put power steering in, the hydro boost picked up, the brakes are working fine. So he may tear it out down the road. But the most part of everything's gonna be tomorrow. We'll come back and tinker with some more then. There he is. We're going on the initial test drive. And it's gonna need a forced regen. It's gonna need it's got some bugs. There's no check engine light, not a light on the dash, except for the brake where he needs to replace his parking brakes. But other than that, everything seems to be happy. And I am out of fuel, so he's following me about 5 miles to get fuel. Then we're headed back over about 7 miles to my house. Then we'll drive it back over here tomorrow and clean up our massive mess and make sure everything's buttoned up right. But I've known that fella for a long time, and I don't think I've ever seen him as happy as I did when that thing fired up tonight. So there was a plug that we looked everywhere for yesterday. We looked high and low and could not find it. We started up, had the emissions acting crazy, throwing a bunch of goofy off the wall codes. I was pretty well convinced it needed that plug hooked up and it had a background. But he found that plug this morning and plugged it in, and everything seems to be happy now. We're just gonna take it. Gotta go to O'Reilly's and get some fluids, coolant, antifreeze, and some, I can't remember what else it is we need to get, but he is just tickled to death. Got it pulled back in the shop this morning, and I'll show you guys a plug that we was having a hard time finding. If I can get my light on here. There we go. So it was that plug right there, and it was throwing all kind of codes. It was doing all kind of crazy stuff, almost like a background or something, and throttle body stuck closed and all that. And we wound up getting, he come out this morning and found it, plugged it in, and everything's happy again. The brake pedal's still just a little bit soft, but we're gonna try to put some brake fluid in, maybe possibly bleed the brakes, and just tinker with it, try to work any bugs out. Them old clamps like that right there, I got some new ones. And if you ever break one of those, you can get those off Amazon. I got a whole bag of them right here. They got the Christmas tree clips on one end, and just a zip tie that comes through the other end, so you can put it back just like it was when you bought it. You know, what I do need is some of the ones with the little long pedestals. That way, that's something we don't have, so I'm gonna have to figure that out. Anyway, I think he's in good shape. Old motor sounds good. Everything seems to be happy at this point, but I wished I could have done a little bit better job videoing for you guys as far as the technicals of it, but figuring it out on your own first time going in, that's what me and them both were doing. Yeah, they're just, when you don't know what you're doing, it's kind of hard to explain what you're doing, you know. But he's starting to put the plastic pieces back in here that we had to take off. And versus my truck, when this one comes apart, when you raise the cab, the coolants, I didn't know this, but the radiator and all that stuff can stay down with the frame. Where my truck, it had to go up. So I was assuming on this truck, it would have to go up. Well, we took off a bunch of stuff we didn't need to because I didn't know that. But we started on Monday, today's Friday. So we did take Wednesday was a really off day. We were waiting on parts and all that. So we didn't get much done on Wednesday. But I'm gonna say it took a solid 4 days, 4.5 days. That's what it took to get it done. We'll have it done and he'll be headed home tonight. Looking like a truck again. Well, we're talking about his airbag controller. He said it's got to the point where you kind of got to smack on it to get it to work. And I said, well, here, let's change the batteries. I had some of the 2032 batteries laying around. And it made it work. But when it started come on, it wouldn't cut off. So I figured it was a hole in the airbag, airline somewhere. So show you what I found. Well, we did a forced regen last night, and apparently it got really hot right here, and it ruptured the line. If I'm spinning around, you can actually see the hole in it. And I'm sitting here looking. His new Bilstein shocks, it cooked all this too, so won't hurt anything. It's just not going to look pretty. I'll turn it this way so somebody looks in from outside, they don't see it, but. Yeah, that exhaust gets super hot. I want to say it was like 600 degrees right here in this bend is what that sensor was telling us last night. So I am going to cut the hole out and put a compression fitting in, one of these, in there to patch him up. And if you're going to do this, you got to have one of these. Makes good clean cuts on airlines, so you get a good seal, especially in the push to connect fittings, but I don't have any of those. I had two of the ones I just showed you. I didn't have any of these. So anyhow, I'm gonna get this taken care of, and he's getting pretty close being able to drive to the house. All right, brushing fitting is in, and hopefully we won't have that issue no more. We're gonna try to figure out some of the loom like you put over spark plug wires and zip tie it on. Maybe that'll kind of keep the heat off of it. But yeah, we'll see. He's starting it up and gonna put the air to it now just to make sure everything's good. Make sure it only burnt the one hole in it. Going up. Oh yeah, it's going up. We'll just leave it up for a little while, make sure it don't leak off. Put it on like 65, maxed it out, whatever that is. I told you to max it out, whatever that is, probably 75. There it is. Raised her on up. Nice leveling off. I think we've got that fixed. Here's the airbag system that we put on, and if you remember, if you keep up my videos, we did this in a parking lot in Joplin, Missouri at the Joplin 44 Petro. We just taking a break and he had it with him. I said, hell, let's stick it on, and it's been on here ever since. So if it looks kind of ratty, that's probably why it is. We never did really come back through and tidy it up too much, but it works. It's been working good for over a year, and I personally like my airlift setup better because it has the app and some different stuff, but it is what it is. Well, if y'all ain't never seen a Dodge Ram 1500 with a Duramax in it, you did now. He got his old engine in the back of his Dodge, got it hooked up to the trailer, and he done been driving it around. Everything seems good. Remote start works, but I'm not going to use it. Haven't put a whole lot of miles on it, but he's leaving here headed to Indiana. That's where he lives. figure out how to get in his truck. His step's a little smaller than mine. And I'm kind of new to the whole push button thing. AC still nice and cold because we didn't disconnect anything, and he's got a bed over here in his truck. Is his layout, and when the motor went down, it had 378,000 miles on it when it lost oil pressure. Now, I do believe it's the same thing with his as it was with mine. Not sure what that is yet, but I do believe it's the same thing with his as it was with mine. This thing is nice, quiet, 16,000 miles on it. I wish we'd have had more time and more money, and could have actually took our time and cleaned it up really good, but he has to get back to work, and I got to get back to work. We've looked it over, no leaks. That trailer, it pulls that 40-foot gooseneck, is what he does for a living. Hot shotting. So I'm pretty happy with it. I think we did good to be the first time we'd ever done one of these. Now I'm sure there's some people that's done this multiple times before saying, oh, you did this wrong, oh, you did that wrong, you didn't have to do this, and you probably should have done that. But being the first time, I'm happy. The cab came off. It sounded horrible. We took the cab off, swapped the motor, put the cab back on. Now it sounds good. I think he's in good shape. I hope so anyway. I know how it feels to have truck trouble. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. You're watching this on the membership site because this video is going to stay there for a pretty good while. Thank you so much for being a member. That actually makes it a whole lot easier on me to help people when they need help. I'm gonna help him tie this truck now so he can get on the road. Here's how we tied this thing down. We went from down here out to the motor mount, down here to the hook point, up to a bolt that's through the alternator bracket. We went from, there was a place to hook right in here on this bracket, down from the motor mount down again, and then went from the chain that we put in the back of the head for the to lift it off of. We went from there down to the front, and that should ride to Indiana. Got him all tied down. He just set the parking brake and he's fitting to be on his way. Well, there he goes. First time with a load on it. Be careful, bub. I hope it does him a damn good job. I hope that motor stays tied in. I'm sure it will, though. Yep. Good looking ride. I hope he gets at least another 400,000 on this one.